Hi, everyone. This is Let's Build DeSo with Kenny J. Today, we are going to work on a project that I started a couple weeks ago, and it's out on GitHub. So I'll give you the URL so you can download it, clone it rather, and play along at home. First, I'm going to take you on a little tour around this new little app. And then we'll go over the code behind it. So the rationale behind this app is I was looking for something that had a comment section more like Reddit. I don't like having to click on the comment icon and then read someone's comment and then click on the comment icon again and read a response to it. And so I thought, well, I could probably just grab all those comments and line them up. And so that was kind of the beginning of DeSo Red, kind of like, Reddit. Let me give you a little example of what I'm talking about. So here I wrote my a little list of my 10 favorite books that I read this year. This is the last day of 2021. If I click on that, it'll show the post, the original post, and then if I just expand these, it'll show I messed up because I called it I Am Legion, I Am Bob. The title's really We Are Legion, we are Bob. Someone reminded me that if I used a different app, I could actually edit that. And then I responded back. So you'd see it's kind of like that Reddit style where the comments go down. All right, let me take you on a little tour through this. So there's basically two pages. Page one is this main page in which I will display the user profile information and then their first 10 or their latest 10 posts. Then if you click on one of these posts, it'll take you to the post comments page. You can see that up here in the URL. And I'm passing it the hex string, the hex ID of that particular post. So in this section, now we see my original post, and there's some basic information about the profile of the user. And so I'm displaying that up here, and information about how many likes it's had and comments. But if you go down here, this section are the children of this post. And we'll go over this in a few minutes, but we'll learn that these comments are really just posts in themselves. They're a post that has a parent, whereas this initial original post does not have a parent. And then again, if I click into any of these, you can drill down. And you notice that I'm not making a call to go get more information. This was already in there, but I just chose to have it collapsed, all of those collapsed when it initially loads. I figure it's a lot less messy that way. Okay, so that's just the basic tour. And next, let's just go over the tech side real quick. For this site, I'm using React, which means I am programming in JavaScript. And for the layout, I'm using Google's Material UI. I think it used to be called Material Design. Anyway, and that allows me to take advantage of lots of nice little UI elements like this hover stuff and nice little clicking here. And even this tree, this collapsible tree, is part of one of the UI elements that are available through Material UI. And Material UI, it integrates very, very well into React. So if you haven't watched the previous video on using JavaScript to access the DeSo API, I would suggest you do that just to get up to speed. And there I mentioned this too, but I just want to thank Paul Burke and Matatray and CFKY for their work on the JavaScript library that's out on GitHub right here, BitClout Hunt, BitClout SDK. So I'm not going to actually be installing this library because one, it's in TypeScript and we're just going to use simple vanilla JavaScript in this project. But two, it's missing some endpoints that we need. But I am going to grab a bunch of the guts and I copy and pasted it into my own little module, and we'll go over that and use that. But I just wanted to say thank you to these guys for working on that. Okay, so we'll start there. Let me pull up the DeSo API module. And if you look at their code, I'm following it. I'm pretty much just copy and pasted it. They have a get client method, and we use something like this in that previous video. We didn't refactor it to this point. It's much cleaner this way. I like this. And then, like I said in the last video, we're not going to be using node.deso.org/API because that's going to have cores enabled and we're not going to be able to grab information. Even these kind of read-only calls, technically they're posts. So we are going to use api.desodev.com, which does not have cores enabled, which will allow our client to talk to that node directly. If you're going to have your own project in React, this is where it becomes important to run your own node and make sure your client is on the same domain as your API, because then the cores doesn't matter, right? Because you're not cross domain, you're within the same domain. But that's why we're going to run into potential problems here. But use this and it'll be fine. But do not use this for your production app. All right, so we have a few endpoints here. And let me go back to our front end and I'll kind of show you what we use for each one of those. So for page one, to get the user information, we use a call to get single profile. So that one, get single profile. And this is really simple. All we're going to do is either pass it the public key or the username. And then in order to get the latest 10 posts for that person, we do get posts for public key. And we can find that, get posts for public key. And we have it, I have it set to 10 right here. That's all I want back, the first 10. And then page two, when we actually have the post, we're using get single post, which is right here. And we are passing it this key. Now to get the rest of the comments, this is where it gets a little tricky, because we're still going to be using get single post. But let me show you how this is going to work. All right, we're going to do a little inspect here. And let's clear this out. And we're going to hit refresh. We're going to take a look at what's going on here. So first of all, it's going to, like I said, grab this initial, this root post. And if we look through here, let's see if we can find that post found. I believe this is the one. There we go. Hi all, I got another DeSo programming video for you. Hi all, all right, good. Next, we have comments. So if I click on this, we can see there were 4 comments. And we have one here from Tyne and Sliss and Baby 77 or 770770. Okay, so that's our 4 comments there. Now, if I open this up, let's open this one back up. Then, so Tyne saying brutal, this might be of interest, maybe cover stuff you already know. And then we look here and we see now comments is null. But we can see that brutal actually did comment back. So why? What's happening? Okay, this, when you're bringing back a post and you're getting those comments, those children, it's only going to give you the first level. So if you think of these, if you go back to computer science days in school, or maybe you're in school right now, or maybe you never covered this, but if we have a node and then we expand it, and then we'll have like nodes under that. So we have, like, if you imagine a little dot up here, we expand it, then we have maybe 10 comments, right? And potentially then each one of those comments in themselves is a node that could potentially expand into another 10 each, right? And so with every level, we're talking 10 to the n. So once again, back to, if any of you took computational theory, this would be in what we call big O 10 to the n. That grows way too big, way too fast. And we don't want that potential tons of information coming back. So it only makes sense that the DeSo API would return the comment itself and then just the next row of children comments or children posts or comments. But if I want to get the comments made for this one, well, that's not too difficult, because once again, every comment is in itself a post. And right here we have post hash hex. So if I grabbed this, then I should be able to run this once again, this process, and get the children. So I can get the children of Tyne's post, which is a comment, and get Brutal's response. And it could go down like that all the way. And so that's kind of how you would do it. So now the way I did it here is, let's take a look at this. I built a little comment tree module, and I am going down and I'm doing, sorry if I'm getting a little techie here, or actually even more like theoretical, but I set up just a little fun little recursive function, right? I call this add comments. And so what it does, it's taking that first node, expanding it, looking at those children nodes, expanding each one of those. And we have, it's called a tree search, right? And we can do a breadth first or a depth first. And depth first sometimes can get us into trouble, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm controlling my breadth because I am only getting the first 10 posts, right? Potentially there could be 100 layers down, and I could end up in a big long loop, which is not really awesome. So if I were, once again, this is probably not ready for production. So you could take this little algorithm, which is, like I said, just a pretty simple depth first tree search, and then you could put a limiter on there, right? You could say, hey, if I go deeper than 10, then maybe stop there and put a little note that the user could click on that to expand and go another 10 deep if possible. But yeah, that would keep you from getting in a super long loop. Anyway, I thought for this example, it's pretty safe. We're not going to have huge amounts of things going super deep. But anyway, that's that. And that's how I am getting these comments all at the same time. So anyway, taking us back to this slide, we can see that this initial post, we use get single post, and then we get those children, and then we run them through that depth first tree. It's kind of a limited depth first tree search to load up these other comments, and we still use that same call to get single post. All right, and we went through this already. When we get it back, we have our initial post, and then we have an array of those initial comments, but we'll see that it says null, even though it's not always null. So that's why you need to go down here and then make a call to this same get single post but with this hash hex. And then if comments comes up null that time, then we know we've reached the edge and we can navigate our way back up the tree and go down another line. So as I said, that search box isn't really working yet. You can only search for 3 different people, and we want an autofill, right? As someone's typing, people are just used to autocomplete, and so we want to provide that. But how? Well, we could try to look through the documentation, and we might find it, how you do like a partial name search to get a bunch of usernames. Or we can just see how everyone else is doing it. And that is sometimes the easier way. So I'm pulling up BitClout, and I'm going to go ahead and clear this. I'm going to go to network because I want to look at the network traffic. I'm going to clear that. I guess that probably doesn't matter. But now I'm going to start searching, and I'm going to see what happens. There we go. I typed in a K. Nothing yet. KE. There we go. Okay. So it brought back a few. What is that? Maybe 20 different choices, right? And if I keep typing, I keep getting them. Let me hit clear again. I'm going to type one more, and then we'll see what's happening. Okay. So we are calling get profiles. And let's take a look. We want to look at this payload. What are we passing in? So we've got add global feed. We've got a lot of stuff that's blank or set to false. Number to fetch 20. I was right. So it's returning the first 20 that match. And still not a whole lot. That is my public key. I bet you that's not even necessary. Username is nothing but user prefix Kenny, and that's what I've typed. Let's see. Let's start this over again. Now my thesis is that when I type in KE and I go to get profiles, I go to payload, username prefix KE. So, okay, we might have gone through the documentation and seen user prefix, but we might not have realized that this is the partial match search. So that's all that is. In fact, let's take a look. Okay, I'm here on the DeSo Dev backend API, and I'm going to be looking for, what am I looking for? Get single profile. So let's see, user endpoints, get single profile. And nice, this one has some documentation. It tells us that the public key is optional, the username's optional, or actually it doesn't say that it's optional, but we know from here it is because we were getting stuff returned, sending that in blank. And that's about it. So yeah, it paid to just go take a look at how someone else is doing it. Okay, so how do we implement this? All right, DeSo API, we've got our get single pose, user stateless, profile partial match. There we go. So I created one called profiles partial match, and I'm calling this get profiles, but what I want is a partial name. Now, maybe I would also want another method that was the full name. I don't want partial matches. I just want, if I type in Kenny J, I want that one back. I could create a second method, right? And call it something different and still access this same API endpoint. But here, I want it to do, I want the name to tell me what it does, right? So here, I'm going to take the partial match, and I fiddled around with everything, and none of that was really necessary. I'm just sending through empty string here for reader. Public key isn't even needed. And for this username prefix, I'm sending in partial name, and that's getting back the information that I need. And where am I doing that? Okay, this is the fun part. So let's take a look at what we're doing so far. Okay, so you guys know that from that last video, I like using dummy data to start with, just kind of hard-coded data to get my front end working, and then I'll call DeSo and get the real data. That's why when you go here right now and you click the down, you just see those three, right? Because those are the three I'm filling it in with. But what we'll want to do, as you can see, I've already coded a little bit of this. What we'll be doing is when I'm typing in a value, I've got a process in React going and filling in this use state variable with input value. So as soon as I type a K, input value is equal to K. As soon as I type in the E, then input value is equal to KE, right? And every time this changes, I have it set up here that it will call this fetch profiles partial match. So that's here right there. And we'll use this input value. So here I'm going to rename it as it comes in. I'm going to rename it to partial name. So in my example, I typed in KE at this point, partial name equals KE. First, I'm checking to make sure that there's a value there because it got kind of screwy if it was a null or an empty string. So we're not going to even start the search until we have something in there. And it kind of used to, in the olden days, I remember we used to wait for about 3 letters before we started the search, but I think things are a lot faster now. And so we'll just start with the very first letter. If you wanted, you could, instead of if partial name, you could put if length partial name greater than or equal to 3, then it would only start searching at that point. Okay, so what am I going to do? All right, first of all, I have this DeSo API module, right? So I instantiate this DeSo API. Then I call get profiles partial match. I get that data. And then I want to make sure that something was found. So let's take a look at that. Okay, let me start typing. There we go. So I typed in it's, and let's see, profiles found. It found 20. So let's take a quick look at this. We have username. We have public key base 58 check. There we go. So take a look at our code again. We're going to pass in this profiles found. That's an array of these first 20 users that match what I typed in. But you could see the format I'm using for that drop down is different from what that's coming back. So I created this little helper function called profile to drop down, and I send it though 20 or however many came back, that array of profiles. I'm going to iterate through that, and I'm just going to build a new array, an array of objects with label and ID, just like here, label and ID. I'm really not even using the ID right now, but I might, who knows. And I'm setting that new array equal to drop down values. And you can see I'm getting username, which we see right here. And that will be the value for the key label. And then public key base 56 check right there. That will be the value for the key ID. And then I return it. And then this set autocomplete options, that's what I set up in React to just do this autocomplete. So I can do there we go. Now brutal comes up. There we go. Okay, so I hope that made sense. Once again, I'm going to have this will be on a public repo on GitHub. So you can download this code, run it yourself. And if you have questions, you can ask me about it. One last little cleanup thing. Let's see. When it initially loads up, it loads up with this Kenny J, Melanie J, Kenny test. That doesn't need to be there. So I can just put that, and the initial value can just be empty string. Let me rerun that. And let's start from the beginning, do a nice little refresh. And if we do search, there we go. No one's in there yet. I start typing Paul Burke. Oh, what happened there? There we go. Click, and there we go. Paul Burke and his posts there. So anyway, I hope that's been helpful, and let me know what else we can work on together. Oh, I was kind of proud of myself here. Let me just show you at the end. I got a light mode, dark mode little thing. So if you download this project, you'll be able to see what I'm doing there to make that work if you haven't done that before. In React, it's actually kind of easy. So that's nice. One thing that I keep hearing is, can you go over identity? And yes, we will go over. In fact, that probably will be the next video, since I keep getting asked about that. So anyway, thanks everyone for their support, and I will talk to you later.